let's let's gavel this to order then. Lala and Aaron, I'm really grateful for you both joining me here, and I just want to set some context here. I know Aaron. I've known Aaron now for probably, I don't know what, 8 years, something like that. And we've been on tour with So Percussion, the group that I'm in, and we did a collab that has recently come out. But the two of you and with Buchan Gase have collaborated on an album, and I was sent a list of stuff to listen to from Alec about you, Lala, and I went in. I had no idea who you were before I started digging in. So I'm saying that only to sort of put forth my ignorance of your body of work, other than what Alec has sent me. But I want to sort of talk today a little bit about what the two of you have collaborated on. But first, I want to sort of, Lala, would you mind just giving me sort of the like nickel and dime tour of like, what brought you to doing what you do for a living, and then what bumped you into Aaron from the Bukes and the Gase?
I've been doing music my whole life. I was in the band, like a marching band and stuff. I played saxophone when I was younger. And then when I was in like my freshman year of high school, I was in a cover band called Shades of Amber, and we used to do like covers of like alternative rock songs and stuff, and I was, the front girl. So
sorry, Lala, you're killing it. I already have a million questions after the first sentence you just said. Like, where did you go to high school?
So I grew up on the Jersey Shore. I'm from Asbury Park originally. And I went to the high school was called High Technology High School.
Okay.
So I went there for a while. That's where I met my bandmates and stuff. And then I graduated from Neptune High School, which is another like high school on the Jersey Shore.
And when you say you joined a cover band playing alternative rock tunes, as someone who grew up in the alternative rock era, like what does that mean to you? Like what tunes were you covering?
We would cover like Incubus, Fuel. What else were we doing at that time? Bush. It's a bunch of stuff. Like all that whole era of like that like angsty, like older, like early 20s kind of like rock music, Google Dolls, that kind of stuff. Like, So that was what we were doing. I was like 14. So that was the band. Alanis, that kind of stuff. You remember the Atlantis?
Yes.
I mean, all of the, I don't know about you, Aaron, but all of these things are absolutely, everything you just said, there was a huge bell going off in my head. Every band you named, I was like, oh my God, I was in Ohio growing up listening to the same stuff.
Yeah. So, I did that. I've always really been into I love hip hop music. I've always loved hip hop music my whole life. That is I was born into a very much hip hop family, but also a very eclectic family at the same time. Like my mom listened to a lot of Annie Lennox. She listened to the Cranberries and all those kinds of things as well. So I had a very well-rounded understanding of music from an early age on. So I've always been interested in combining my favorite elements of all those kinds of music. So when I now fast forward, I started rapping in high school as well, around 11th grade or so, 10th or 11th grade. And I used to do little freestyle battles with everybody in school. And so that's how I kind of realized I could rap, but I didn't start taking it serious until I got into college. And I was I was studying English literature, at school. And I was getting into, sharpening my writing and stuff. And I started playing with writing music and writing songs. And so that's how that kind of came about. And everybody was always telling me, you're really good, you're really good, you're really good. And I was I don't think I could do this as a career though. It's just, fun. But I actually was dating this guy, and he was a really extreme hip hop purist. And he was very snobby about rap and stuff. And one day we were all hanging out with some of our friends, and I was rapping or whatever. And at the end of it, everybody was so impressed, but he was kind of just sitting there that was cool. And so later on when we got home, I was what did you really think about, what I was doing? And he was it was all right. He was it was good. He was but who we listen to and the types of artists that we're into. And he was and if I'm being honest, I think you can do better. kind of thing. And I was like, okay. And it really stung at the moment. But I was just like, all right. And so after we broke up, I kind of like made this point in my head to be like as good as I could be like at rapping. So he kind of like spearheaded that. And I was like, I'm going to do this seriously. And I'm going to make him know that I am the one to be, reckoned with. Yeah. So, yeah, that's how that journey became. And then I started recording in Harlem with another old flame of mine. I would like record at his studio in his house in Harlem. And then next thing you know, I started like reaching out to different like promoters and people who were doing like parties at dive bars and stuff in the city. Mm-hmm. And I started doing little shows there. And then I started building a smaller, like a little fan base, a little cult following. And people started fucking with me, and they're like, okay, we're ready for you, like for real as an artist. So that's how that happened. Like that's how I became like a career rapper. The way that Aaron and I met, or the Aarons and I met actually.
Thank you. We do that too in So Percussion. I just call them the Aarons. Like it's too hard.
Yeah, I call them she Aaron and he Aaron, or girl Aaron or boy Aaron.
Works.
But yeah, so basically my manager Terrence, who works really closely with Brassland, he has an artist who's also on Brassland, Fusilier. He was like, telling me about them and like their music and stuff. And I've always been interested. Like I said, I love alternative music and I love experimental like pop and rock and all those kinds of things. So I was like immediately impressed with them when I heard their work. And then he was like, oh, they're having a show. They need somebody to open. I think you would be a good fit. I was at Mercury Lounge. This was like 2018. We met. We had great chemistry. The show went really excellent. And then we decided that we were definitely going to work together. And so they came over to my house one day in the summer of 2019, or was it the winter? I don't even remember, but it was 2019.
Yeah, it was cold.
It was cold, right? Yeah, okay. It was like March-ish or February-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah. So early 2019. They come over to my house, in my living room where I am right now. They bring their stuff and we set up and we kind of just like, they're like, let me play some stuff for you, see what you can like vibe with or whatever. And it was those two records that really were born out of this. So,
yeah.
Well, let me ask you real quick, Aaron. And before Aaron, I turn the mic over to you. I just had another follow up to one of the stories you were telling, Lala, about your boyfriend, your ex boyfriend at the time, sort of being a little bit like, I don't know, you can do better. What was it specifically, and if it's too personal, please just say like, no, that's too personal. But like, what was it specifically that you then turned around to be like, what is it that I need to do better? And the only reason I'm asking this question is because I've hung a lot with this beatboxer Shodeke Talaferro, and he sort of like laid out for me the history of beatboxing and like from everything from DJ Jazzy Jeff to Biz Markie to like this whole lineage to the Grandmaster Funk and the Furious Five, like all of these folks that I kind of peripherally knew of. But you mentioned that you were studying English Lit too at the time. Like what was the particular rub that he had with your approach to rapping that?
Well, I'm a writer. Am I muted?
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay. So I've always I'm a writer. I'm an essayist, fiction writer, screenwriter, all those kinds of things. So I felt like it was like he was challenging my pen. I felt like my pen was being called into question, and I was like, I am a really good writer, but I also do understand like what really good hip hop is. And although everybody was impressed with my stuff, he was the one that I knew. I was like, if he doesn't think that it's good, it's not good.
I see.
You know what I'm saying? I was like, so everybody else is like, oh, this is great because they're just wild by this. But I know what I listen to and what he listens to. And he was like, no, you need to be trying to be on this level. Like if you're gonna make hip hop music and enter this genre and become a part of this legacy, then you need to be contributing to this legacy in the way that these artists have done in the past. And so that was the way I internalized it. And I sat with it for a while because I'm a tourist. So at first tourists were like, what the fuck, who are you talking to? Like, what do you mean? Don't try to tell me what I can and can't do about my stuff. But I'm also really critical. So I was like, maybe he has a point, And I started to really I just really focused on sharpening my skills over the next few years. So it was his firm understanding of the genre and what he considered to be good, and also what I considered to be good, that made me realize like yeah, what you've been doing all this time is actually subpar. It's actually not like, fantastic. I want it to be fantastic. You know what I'm saying? And so
Yeah,
that's weird.
totally. I appreciate that answer very much. I mean, and Aaron, I think to bounce off of that, for you as a writer of lyrics and a singer of some sort of narrative of some sort when you're singing a song, whether it be abstracted or on the nose, like what for you has been like, is there anything particular for you in your writing journey that was there a moment for you that's similar to what Lala was expressing, where somebody came in and is like, I think you can just be a scotch better if you just thought about these three things. Like, what for you as a writer? Is there anything like that that's come up for you?
I mean, yeah, working with Aaron, it came up a lot. I mean, not super often because he wasn't really paying attention to lyrics more often than not. And so I
Mm-hmm.
kind of had free reign. But sometimes I would use a word that would trigger him. Like if I used the word God, he would immediately think, well, that's like obviously Christianity or something. We can't use that
Mm.
word. Like I don't want anybody to think that we're Christian. And I'm like, well, did you look at the context? But it did make me like, there are a lot of songs that I had to tone down because the word love bothered him as well.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe this is like but it's like, these
No,
are
it's fine.
really, they're very strong words and they're used a lot and they have big meaning. And I think that, he didn't want to have a strong opinion one way or the other on subjects, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess had less of a boundary with that, but I did have to learn how to like make my point without using those words.
Mm. Well, and Lala, this goes back to you. Like when you're crafting words and you're crafting stuff to write or to rap or anything, like what are you thinking? Does Aaron's process cross your mind at all in terms of like I need to use different words, or do you just go for it? Like what is your approach? Like how careful are you with your lyrics, or how do you navigate that stuff? Sorry, that's not a very well formed question. I realize as I just puked it out of my
No, it's fine. I'm over here just kind of like freaking out because I'm trying to get this background thing off of me so you can actually see me. I don't know why this
I
won't go
was
away.
I'm super into it, by the way, Lala. I think
Okay, it's like stressing me out. So I'm sorry, but it's like really.
I don't want you to be
um,
stressed out at all. So you do whatever's best for you. But I'm happy as a clam over here.
so I mean, for me, my writing process is like as far as like lyrics are concerned, I am very precise with my lyrics. However, my process is more about the rhythm of the song first.
Mm.
So like if I hear a beat, like it always starts with production. So whatever the production is given to me, right? I listen to the beat and I'm like, okay. And then like the beat kind of like tells me like how to approach the record rhythmically, like cadence wise and delivery wise. So I'll maybe even like I don't even have words initially when I'm making a record. Like initially it's just kind of like mumbling and like sounds,
Mm.
like just to kind of like catch the pattern and make sure I'm in the pockets. So once I situate myself within the pocket of the beats, then I'm able to then craft the lyrics around those skeletons of like the kind of like vocal like nuances that I've been like putting out.
I see. Because I mean, what little I know about, like, I heard this story about Paul McCartney with the song "Yesterday." That
Hmm.
the original lyrics were "mushy peas, mushy peas." Ba 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 da 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 da.
Yeah.
And it was just like a substitute, but he wanted to make like as you're saying this, like is that a very common thing? And I'm maybe asking this to both of you. Like I assume that the lyrics, because the thing that as a listener I take away the most is like, oh my God, they're talking about a suicide,
Hmm.
But if like, but I don't know that the original song was about, peach ring gummy bears because that was the original lyric that you used to just get the groove and the feel down. Like how much of that is how often does that happen, I guess, is a question to both of you, just to sort of demystify the song making process to listeners out here.
Like what Lala was saying, I mean, it is, especially when it comes from an improvisational like perspective, it's all vowels, consonants. It doesn't make any sense. It's just like I'm trying to find the right way that the mouth sounds
Mm,
right and the sound sounds right coming out of through my voice. And then whatever words come out of that is like, it's it's a puzzle, and I'm trying to put it together, and sometimes it makes sense and sometimes it doesn't, and when it doesn't, I try to figure out why and what is it in the context. But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with like Lala's saying, cadence, and for me melody is huge. And if my voice does a thing and I don't expect it to, if it's a mistake, sometimes I'll try to make that mistake again because that was the right thing to happen there. But
do you feel like the sort of tendency to, or the hesitancy around lyrics or being tied to a specific lyric is something that is rooted in the idea that, like, as soon as the English, or maybe, at least for the three of us, the English language all of a sudden immediately carries context and weight, and I get to graft onto it whatever. Like, you could play a 5/7 chord in F, and I'm not going to graft my emotional life's weight onto that 5/7 chord. But if you tell me Nirvana, like I eat my cancer when it's black, like all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God. Like what am I thinking about all of a sudden, And is there, because of that weight that comes because people graft their own stuff on it, is that a conscious decision on your all's behalf? Is that something that's just part of the nature of what you do as songwriters, or do you not care about that?
I think for me, sometimes that is the way I do approach a record. Like, so sometimes a bar, or a line will come to me, and then I'll kind of build around that line. You know what I'm saying? Like, even if it's not with the beat, like sometimes I'm just randomly thinking about something like, oh, that's really clever. Like, I need to say that in a song. You know what I'm saying? And so that particular line may haunt me for a while before I'm able to craft other things around it to make it make sense as a whole record.
I see.
But I think that that happens sometimes. But for the most part, it's more typically I need the beat first. That's the way I prefer to write. I prefer to hear a beat, to catch the rhythm, to get the pattern down, like how I'm going to say it, and then kind of etching the skeletons. For me, that is the easiest way to craft a record. But I have a record that I wrote recently, where it's called Hotep Helter Skelter. It's coming out on another EP that I have coming out very soon after we are done with all this stuff. But it's called Hotep Helter Skelter, and it's that phrase just kept playing with me. It was haunting me for months before I actually made it a record, and before I was able to actually craft the story that's going into the record, and what I want to say and how I want to say it. But after I got those words, after I got the name down, the title, then I was able to kind of play with how I want to maybe say that in the song. You know what I mean?
Totally. Aaron, is there anything you want to respond to that?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we have actually, Lala, I think we have a really similar way of working out music. I mean, it's definitely it's not always a conscious thought, but of course I want to take it into consideration. I don't want to say something stupid. I don't want to sound like a dumb person. But I also want to hear what things are going to sound like. So I'll just it's kind of like throwing stuff out there and seeing what sticks until it makes sense. And then if there's something that doesn't seem to work, like if I'm talking about love in one sentence and then I don't know, something else in another, maybe one of those has to go, and maybe one of those things is the more dominant feeling of the song.
Well, and I think for me, sometimes I like that though, because it's a stream of consciousness that I do.
Yeah. Oh, true.
But because it can still, even though it that's so common in rap, right, where there's not necessarily this continuity of everyone's songs are not always going to be have that continuity where there's a story and it's very linear and this is what happens next and this is what happens next. Sometimes it's no, I'm mentioning a line about this, but then I'll go right back to reference something else, but it still relates to that, even though it's it seems completely different.
Yeah, I also, in a little bit, it's kind of contrived to talk about writing this way because every song is different and every approach, it's just not the same thing. It may feel like it's kind of a similar pattern, but for the most part, it's I can't say that all of the songs came out the same way, and I can't say that I would even talk about each song this way.
Yeah. Well, the the sort of focus around, to me, the focus around text-based stuff is, personally for me, has always been really interesting. Just working with Matmos and seeing, like, Matmos was the first group that I ever worked with where I was like, wait a minute, you can say words on stage? That's crazy. You can vocode words on stage? That's bonkers. And so, but then what those words mean then, in the context in which they're being put, I think is terribly important. In Lala, there was a your track On God that uses the Muhammad Ali quote.
Yes.
Like, I listened to that 1,000 times. I love good orators, no matter who they are, whether it's a boxer giving a pre-fight interview, whether it's Barack Obama, whether it's, whoever it is, somebody who can use cadence and lyric and text as a way to sort of build an intensity and then resolve that intensity into a 1 chord off of that big diminished 7 chord. Like, Muhammad Ali could do that, so could Barack Obama, and sadly so could Adolf Hitler. Like, there was a whole, that skill set is in a lot of people. I'm curious for you, the use of sampling is something that I know, and Aaron, you should step in here and slap me across the face if I'm saying something that's wrong. But I think when I think of groups that use sampling heavily, I would say that Buke and Gase is not one of those groups. And I'm curious for you, Lala, like, coming into this collaboration with Aaron and Aaron, was there any sort of brick walls you hit where you're like, okay, or actually, let me ask you this: was there any preconceived notions you had coming into the collaboration where you're like, well, I shouldn't do this, like, assuming that there might be walls put up by the other 2 collaborators who maybe you don't know as well? Like, were there any preconceived notions you had that were dashed as soon as you met them? And I'm going to ask the same question of Aaron.
I don't really think so. No. I can say no.
That is the best answer to that question I've ever heard. You might be the most genuine collaborator ever to be alive, Lala. You're just like, let's just work. It's great.
No, like, I mean, obviously, like, I'm really into their sound and stuff. I was more interested in the soundscape and how, like, my voice would gel with Aaron's voice, right?
Okay.
How we would be like, so I was more so concerned with the sonics of it all, not so much the textual part of it, but more so like the soundscape, like how were we going to, like, gel as a whole, like as a cohort, like, how is this going to work?
Well, when you first heard, and Aaron, please, earmuffs here. When you first heard Aaron's voice, what were some of your first maybe fears or sort of excitements that you heard of, like, man, this lady is rad, and I don't know how to work with that voice because it's like a jet engine that does a thing that only it does. Like, that's my reaction to Aaron's voice every time I hear her.
I think that, like, I don't know, like, I mean, obviously, I feel like I immediately wanted to work with her and also with Aaron because of their sounds. Like, the vocal itself, like, her voice to me is just so otherworldly. Like, I love the way, like, she sounds like kind of like a fairy almost to me. You know what I mean? And,
I love that word. Thank you very much. That's perfect.
So I knew I wanted to work with her. I didn't know how we were going to do this. I didn't know what capacity, but I knew that the marriage of her sound, like her voice, and also the soundscape that's created by the Buke and the Gaze, and then also the production that's given by Aaron, like, I was like, this is going to be good. Like, cause I can hear like I don't know if they purposely have these, like, hip hop elements within their music, but I hear things that to me signal hip hop to me. Oftentimes, and I think it's kind of like a lot of the industrial sounds too. Sometimes that kind of like bring it there, right? So it's like I can hear I've always heard myself on their records, like whether it was Derby, you know what I'm saying, or the new stuff that we just completed. So I knew that I could get on those beats. I'm also the kind of artist, like, I'm unafraid of, because of my eclectic background, I'm unafraid of entering different, like, musical terrains and, like, offering my voice to them. So I was never like, I didn't feel like a fear of, like, entering this with them because, like, I'm very much like, I'm already familiar with that world. So although I may have never done it like on wax, like I haven't had that moment. But I've always been prepared for that kind of moment, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely. Aaron, what about you?
Okay, well, the preconceived notions, no, again, yeah, I didn't know what to expect and I didn't put any expectations on it. I think it was really fun to just like think about our music in this new context and think like, oh yeah, like what could we do? That would be fun. We definitely need to try. And I think we sent, I don't know, I think we sent maybe just three pieces to you and you picked two and you were like, yeah, we can do something to this. So we were really excited about that. And I'm so stoked with what came out of it. Um, what else am I supposed to talk?
Well, I have a question for you, Aaron. I will say, listening to the collab, if this was the first recording of Buchan Gase that I had ever come across, first recording of music with Buchan Gase on it that I'd ever come, this is the first time I hear of you, I would feel like, I don't know how I would feel. I would say that it falls more like I can hear the hip hop influence in it more in the sort of long, there's like longer durations of rhythm and harmony. Like it's just like there's a longer sense between each beat. And I feel like hip hop does this really well. Kendrick Lamar's album Damn, like I remember listening to that and being like, what in the holy hell am I listening to? Yeah. You know, like this is brilliant on every level and I can't perceive it. I don't know what's happening. You know, it felt like a kaleidoscope. But I would say the same for Kanye West. I would say the same for, you know, Sugar Hill Gang. Like there's a connection from like the beats are longer. And I feel like with maybe Lala's influence here, I feel like the two of you as a rhythm section really inhabited that like like there's a longer groove. I don't that's not maybe a good way to explain it, but it feels less moment to moment and more of a like phrase to phrase feeling that the two of you have. And I'm wondering how much of that came from Lala or came from just the outgrowth of your collaboration, because I don't get phrase to phrase when So worked with you. It was very much a like boom, boom, boom. Here's the 3 beats. Now here's the next 4 beats. Bop, 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 bop. You know, and it was like, I'm curious for you, Aaron, as a collaborator, like what, was there any moment of recognition of that, or am I completely misdiagnosing what I'm hearing?
I don't know. I think that what you're hearing is like we're looking more at like a bigger picture, phrase wise, rhythm wise. It's a bigger picture. Whereas I mean, So percussion, Lala, I don't know if you've heard it, but it's like very percussion forward. Like, and not just one percussionist, but like 4 percussionists.
3 too many percussionists, Lala.
And like, so it's very much about the rhythm and it's very much about interesting rhythm, I think. And then I think what we were doing with Lala and what we presented and how we worked together was more, we're looking for a vibe, really. And it's a bigger picture in each song. I think that there's a small picture in a So percussion.
Well, I want to say, too, just in terms of the rhythmic orchestra, it's like the orchestration in general, to me, seems a little thinner. Like there's more space for vocals and other things that I feel like maybe... No, in the new collaboration than there was for So percussion. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. It's just I'm just saying a value judgment or an objectifiable statement. I feel like the weeds are cleared out in this collaboration in a way that I think maybe So percussion just didn't allow. And I'm curious if that was a conversation that you all had at any moment. It's like, we need more space for the vocals here. Like, I think we need this, this, and this. Like, was that a conscious thing?
I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, certainly we'd be like, well, let's stretch this out so that Lala can work on it and like use it and have fun with it and let it go forever. I mean, we can stretch stuff out because yay, looping.
Right.
Yeah, but and then as long as she's got something to say, like we'll have it go that long.
Yeah, I think.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, because I was gonna say because they sent me the beats, like they already had like the records, like they're like they had the records like done.
Well,
not done.
There were ideas.
Yeah. They like exactly. Okay. They felt to me. I was like, when they sent me these sounds, I was like, this seems like something I can do. Like, you know, but it wasn't like I think you had them before we even discussed the collaboration.
Mhm.
So I don't think that they were necessarily thinking of a rapper or even me when they were
Mm.
making those soundscapes. They were just like, can you do something with these? Like, do you think that you can do anything with these particular records?
Mhm.
And then kind of like, you know, that's when we came in, we had the writing session where we got together and we just like vibed it out like together and
Yeah.
saw what we both came up with like lyrically because the soundscape was there but the lyrics weren't there.
I see.
Like,
Well,
And
go ahead, Aaron.
with,
Sorry.
so after that, I mean, Lala, you put it down, I think, for Taste Up, and then Aaron did a total remix of that.
yes,
So badass. And
I
like,
love the
and
remix.
that's like where the collaboration went to the next step, where
Yes,
we're yeah, where it was basically we're putting something on top of Lala, right?
I
So
see.
she was inspired by something that we made, and then made something inspired by her.
Was there any moment in the collaboration between the two, or between the two ensembles, you know, Lala and Buke and Gase, that where there was and again, this is a bit, my podcast is called Concert Honesty, Lala. Aaron has been on it many times, so I really thrive on just brutal honesty here. Were there any moments between the two groups where you were like, I don't think this is gonna, not the whole collaboration, but like a song was like, oh my god, this stinks, and we have to throw a grenade in the room to blow it up? Or was there any moment of like, just for folks who are watching, maybe a young student who maybe is a big fan of yours, Lala, or yours, Aaron, like, who just thinks that what you do is just like Lala sits in a cave on a mountain and puts her finger down and down comes a new album. Like, the three of us know that is absolutely bullshit. That's not at all how albums work. From Kanye West to Kendrick Lamar. Like, Kanye is a huge nerd. I'm sorry, you don't make those albums without being a huge nerd, you know? Like for the two of you, is there any moment where you can demystify the process for younger folks looking to do what it is the two of you are doing, and sort of be like, man, this is a really hard moment, and here's how we got through it?
Can I talk about the verse that I did?
Okay, based on her laugh, yes, please.
All I'll say is that I got so inspired by Lala's work that I was like, oh my God, I got something. I got to do this. And like Aaron recorded me and we like presented it to her and like, is this like a thing that you would be cool with having? And like, it's not the right place. Like we wanted to feature Lala and we wanted to have her be like the voice rapping on this. So that basically I'm like shutting it down at the same time as bringing
Wait,
it
so
up.
you recorded a verse of you rapping, Aaron?
Yeah.
Okay, and I could tell. Listen, I know my face already reads like I'm about to make fun of you, Aaron. But like, no. Like, Lala, can you tell me what your genuine, and pretend Aaron's not here? Like, what was your genuine reaction when you received that email and that?
I mean, I thought it was really cool. You know, I definitely was like, okay, but I was like, I don't think this is the moment for that. But initially, I was excited to hear her. Like, I was excited that she was excited to rap. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was excited that I inspired that in her. I was like, oh, that's dope. You know, like she wants to rap, but I was just like, let's do your thing, girl. You do the voice thing, and you know, you do your thing, and then you leave the bars up to bars B, you know, and let me do my thing. So, but
Well,
yeah, and I don't think I would do it in any other context. Like there's no other time that I'm gonna be doing that.
But I mean, I really did. I loved the like excitement behind it. Like I really, really did. I really thought it was cool. I was like, this is dope. I was like, this is crazy. I loved, you know, like we're artists. Like sometimes we do shit that it's just because we feel it, you know, and it doesn't always make sense, but it definitely feels good in the moment. And I was like, yeah, like she wasn't bad, you know, like I've heard rappers who are worse than her, you know what I'm saying? So
well, this
no,
is,
like,
I mean,
like she was pretty good, you know, like for someone who's not a rapper at all, and for her to have attacked the record in that way, I think she did a solid job. I just didn't think that it was the moment
right.
for that.
Well, yeah. I think to the reason I asked that question and why I'm grateful for your response, Lala, is that like I think it's a trust building exercise. Aaron put that together in a pile of insecurity. I'm confident of it, and probably hesitated for like 48 hours to press send on the email to you because like this might blow up the collaboration if Lala thinks I'm trying to be a rapper. But I think you also rightfully perceived it as like, I'm really curious about what you do, and I'm just excited to be in the room, and like, can I learn more about? And I just am I really am grateful for you spelling that out and sort of laying out how that went, because I think it's a model for a lot of folks to work together, both in solidarity but also out of ignorance. Like I'm in solidarity with you, Lala. I don't know you. I'm ignorant of a lot of the way you make music, but I'm in solidarity with you, and I think that as the sort of foundation of trust. I think I hear that in the record the two of you have made, and I think that I wish there was a better way that you could put that on the album. Like, this is the track where you all learn about how to collaborate. But I think it's really healthy, and I'm really grateful for it. Just in the interest of time, I think for the two of you, I want to get you out of here and not steal any more of your time that you've been so grateful with. I'm going to talk to Aaron Sanchez at some point this week as well, and I want to be respectful of the fact that that's going to be two dudes on the podcast. What is Aaron going to tell me that you two aren't going to tell me about this collaboration? Or what do you think Aaron's going to tell me about this collaboration that you two aren't telling me?
I mean, I think he'll talk a lot more about the production end of it.
So and again, I'm asking out of ignorance. So he did all the production on this album, is that right?
Not all of it, but most of it.
Pardon me, excuse me.
Not all of it. But yeah, I mean, like the song 112 is his entirely. I have this all pulled up here somewhere. Where is it? Slops, taste up, 112, pass and past, empathic ponds, and taste up redux. I mean, he did 112 was his song, and then the redux, the remix of taste up it's him.
Okay. Well, I mean, I kind of. I always recoil at when people are average, like, here's a new album you should check out because it blends indie rock and hip hop. Like, that always is just like a sad trombone. Like, this is a different thing. This is a new version of all of the things, and I highly recommend that folks check this album out. But also, before we wrap up here, Lala, can you let folks know where, if they want to learn more about your specific music in the album that has like Mariella and On God on it, like where can they find out about your specific work if they want to have a little teaser before they get into the collaboration?
I mean, I'm everywhere. You can like find the stuff, get into the things. Like I think that these particular songs actually, especially Taste Up, really indicative of what's to come for me. So I think, especially for like for people who haven't heard me at all before, like this will be great for them because they're like just going to be ready for what's to come next. I think for my more seasoned listeners, I think for them it's going to be like, oh, she's moving into a different like era of her artistry where because before it was like, I mean, my music is very like hardcore, you know what I'm saying? And it's always been very hardcore, but I'm kind of venturing into, just work. I'm more interested in like producing more musical records. And I think that where I am right now with the records that I've currently like laid down and all the records that are to come out, including the ones you've heard, I think that they take musicality into consideration far more than anything I've ever done. Like as a whole, like in terms of like the instrumentation behind it and like the sampling and all those things, like none of that is in any of my older music. So it's an entirely new sound and a new introduction to me. So I do love the fact that we are like, kind of like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like we're starting this off like with these particular records because it will show like, okay, I see what she's doing here. Like she's maneuvering through different soundscapes and stuff. So.
And your stage name, if folks want to like look you up on YouTube or
Rahrah Gabor.
Rahrah Gabor.
Yes, like Zsa Zsa, but Rahrah, R-A-H. And that's
Great.
one word. Rahrah is not two words. It's Rahrah together.
Rahrah, and then second word is Gabor, Gabor.
Correct.
Excellent. And Aaron, what about you? What's the name of the collab album, and where can folks pick it up if they want to check it out?
God, what is it called? Isn't it called Taste Up? Or no, it's just called Rahrah Gabor.
Rahrah Gabor Beacon Gaze.
Ands in it, and like, and
I'm glad to know that So Percussion and Buke and Gase, like, we couldn't come up with a name either, so we were just like So Percussion, Buke and Gase.
I mean, because sometimes you just try. You don't need to try too hard for titles. Sometimes they just are what they are. Like
That's right. That's right.
Oh, it's like it's a really genre curious album. It's like it's not one thing, and yeah, it'd be really hard to put just one title on it. It's a really interesting collaboration and collection of work from three very interesting different people. Like
ew.
I'd agree 100%, and I would say the track to check out if I was going to recommend one would be Taste Up. If I had, that's my personal fave, but
that just happens to be the single.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I never pick the single. I'm always like, that's the song nobody wants to hear. That's
that
my
was the
vibe.
first single. Then we're past. I spelled it wrong yesterday. Passe and passe, but it's past and pass.
Well, I highly recommend that everybody check out the Taste Up off the new collab with Rahrah Gabor and Buke and Gase. But also, if you want to learn more about Rahrah Gabor, check out what's the name of your album with On God is called what?
It's Mariella, self-titled.
Mariella, sorry, Mariella.
Yeah,
it's a remarkable album. I highly recommend you all check it out. And Rahrah and Lala, excuse me. I hope that we get to just hang in person at some point. You seem like if you're friends with Aaron, then you're friends with me, whether you like it or not. I feel like I would love to toast and have a drink. And Aaron Dyer, thank you so much for your time here. Is there anything else we should sign off with here before we wrap up?
We have a show at Public Works February 11th.
February 12th.
February 12th. I'm sorry. The EP drops on the 11th.
It might not be happening.
But it might be happening.
It might be happening.
It might be, so it's still worth the mention.
Okay.
All right, so February 12th at Public Works, is that what you said?
Public Records.
Public Records, excuse me. Okay, all right. Well, I've really enjoyed this, and I will enjoy it far more if we can figure out a way to be in person and have a drink and hug and do all the things that human beings do. I'd love that very much so. But in the meantime, congratulations on the new album.
It's
awesome. I'm really proud of you both. I mean, I just met you, Lala, but I'm proud of you, Aaron. You're my buddy, and I'm a big fan. So congratulations. In the meantime, stay healthy and stay happy, and I hope to cross paths with you again soon, okay?
You too.
Thank you.
Thanks for having
me. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that conversation. This podcast is brought to you by Liquid Drum, liquiddrum.com down in Waco, Texas. My good friend Todd Meehan runs an amazing percussion company down there. Great merch, great content. Check him out, liquiddrum.com. Also, Kyle Dunleavy, dunleavypans.com, Dunleavy pans.com. Kyle Dunleavy makes and builds all the steel drums that I perform and teach on in So Percussion, as well as at NYU and Princeton. He's an amazing tuner, builder, just a really nice guy, very dependable. Check him out. If you are interested at all in steel pan advocacy, want to learn more about the goings-on in Pan in Brooklyn, check out paninmotion.com. My good friend Kendall Williams, Jerry Guy, Trisha Guy, and Arisha John run an amazing organization called paninmotion.com. Check them out. And finally, Alejandre Mirage runs an amazing clothing apparel company in Brooklyn that is steel pan centric. You can check him out at mangochow, CHOW, clothing.com. I own a bunch of his shirts. They're amazing, very stylish, beautifully made. Check them out. mangochowclothing.com. Okay, hope you're well. Talk to you soon. Bye.